You know that feeling when everything in your life suddenly starts falling apart, just when you thought you were finally getting closer to the one person your soul has been searching for? When the universe seems to be pushing you in opposite directions, when doubt creeps in like a shadow, when you wonder if you've been fooling yourself this entire time. That's not coincidence. That's not bad luck. And it's definitely not a sign that you're on the wrong path. What you're experiencing right now in this very moment of confusion and pain is actually the most sacred part of your journey. Carl Jung called it the dark night before the dawn, the necessary descent before the ultimate integration. But here's what most people don't understand about this phase, and why so many twin flames give up right before the breakthrough happens. Let me tell you something that might change everything you thought you knew about this connection. The chaos you're feeling, the emotional turbulence, the way your whole world seems to be shaking at its foundation. This isn't the universe telling you to walk away. This is the universe preparing you for something your ego has been resisting since the moment you met this person. Because twin flame union isn't about two perfect people coming together in perfect harmony. It's about two wounded souls being forced to face every single shadow they've been hiding from, every fear they've been running from, every part of themselves they've rejected and buried deep in the unconscious. And right before union, all of that rises to the surface at once. Jung understood something profound about human transformation that most people miss entirely. He knew that we cannot integrate what we refuse to see. We cannot heal what we continue to deny. And we absolutely cannot unite with another soul when we're still at war with ourselves. The twin flame journey forces you into what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of integrating all the fragmented parts of yourself into one coherent being. But here's the thing about individuation that nobody warns you about. It feels like death before it feels like rebirth. It feels like losing everything before you gain what truly matters. It feels like the end when it's actually the beginning. Right now you might be experiencing what Jung described as the encounter with the shadow. Your shadow isn't just the bad parts of you, the angry parts, the jealous parts, the wounded parts. Your shadow is everything you've disowned about yourself to survive, to be loved, to fit into a world that demanded you be smaller than you truly are. And your twin flame, whether they're standing right in front of you or miles away in separation, is the mirror that reflects every single aspect of that shadow back to you. They trigger you in ways no one else can because they're not supposed to let you hide anymore. They're not here to make you comfortable, they're here to make you whole. Think about your own journey for a moment. When did the most intense triggers start happening? When did the running begin? When did the doubt, the fear, the overwhelming sense that this connection might destroy you, when did all of that reach its peak? Was it right when you started to feel something real? Something that couldn't be controlled or predicted or fit into the neat little box of what you thought love should look like? Most people experience the greatest chaos right before union because union requires the death of who you used to be. And the ego doesn't die quietly. It fights. It screams. It creates drama and distance and every possible reason why this connection is wrong, dangerous, or impossible. What's happening in your life right now, whether you realize it or not, is the final purging. Jung called this the nigredo stage in alchemy, the blackening, the complete dissolution of everything that was once solid and certain. In alchemical terms, you have to break down the old substance completely before you can create the gold. You have to let everything fall apart before you can rebuild it into something transcendent. And that's exactly what's happening between you and your twin flame right now. The old patterns, the old wounds, the old ways of loving that were based on need and fear and control, all of that is being burned away, not to hurt you, but to free you. Here's what I need you to understand deeply, because this is where most people lose hope and walk away. The intensity of what you're feeling right now, the depth of the pain, the magnitude of the confusion, that's proportional to the depth of the transformation that's trying to happen. Small shifts create small discomfort. Massive transformations create massive upheaval. And twin flame union is the most massive transformation a human soul can undergo. You're not just preparing to be with another person. You're preparing to become the person who's capable of that union. And those two people are not who you are today. Not yet. Can you see it now? Can you feel how everything that's been breaking down in your life has actually been making space for something your soul has been calling in since before you even met this person? Let's talk about what Jung discovered about projection, because this is where everything starts to make sense. When you first met your twin flame, what did you see in them? Did you see a person, or did you see the embodiment of everything you've ever wanted, everything you've ever needed, everything you believed would finally make you whole? Most people experience what Jung called the anima, or animus projection, in the early stages of twin flame connection. The anima is the unconscious feminine aspect within a man, and the animus is the unconscious masculine aspect within a woman. When we meet someone who carries the energy of our own unconscious opposite, we don't fall in love with them. We fall in love with the part of ourselves we've been searching for our entire lives. This is why the connection feels so cosmic, so fated, so absolutely undeniable. You're not just recognizing another person, you're recognizing yourself in them. You're seeing the missing piece that's been calling to you from the depths of your own psyche. But here's where it gets complicated, and here's why the journey becomes so painful. As long as you're projecting your own wholeness onto another person, you can never actually experience that wholeness. You remain fragmented, dependent, desperately clinging to someone outside of yourself to feel complete. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, will not allow twin flame union to happen from that place. It can't, because union from a place of projection isn't union at all. It's just two incomplete people trying to use each other to avoid their own inner work. So what happens right before union is the withdrawal of projection. And this process feels absolutely devastating because it feels like you're losing the person who was supposed to save you. The pedestal crumbles. The fantasy dissolves. You start to see your twin flame as a human being with flaws, fears, wounds, and limitations. You start to see that they can't fix you, can't complete you, can't give you the love you've been denying yourself. And in that moment of disillusionment, most people run. They decide the connection was an illusion, that they were wrong about everything, that this person isn't their twin flame after all. But that's the ego talking. That's the part of you that wants to stay asleep, stay comfortable, stay in the familiar pattern of seeking completion outside of yourself. Jung said that disillusionment is one of the greatest gifts on the path to individuation. When you lose your illusions about another person, you gain the opportunity to see them clearly, to love them for who they actually are rather than who you needed them to be. And more importantly, you gain the opportunity to turn inward and find within yourself everything you were projecting onto them. The strength, the wisdom, the love, the divinity, it was always inside of you. Your twin flame was just the mirror showing you what you couldn't see on your own. Right before union, you stop needing your twin flame and start choosing them. That shift from need to choice is everything, because need comes from lack, from emptiness, from the belief that you're incomplete without them. But choice comes from wholeness, from abundance, from the recognition that you're already complete, and you're choosing to share that completeness with another complete being. This is what Jung meant by the conjunctio, the sacred marriage of opposites. It's not two halves coming together to make a whole. It's two wholes coming together to create something that transcends both of them. But to get to that place of wholeness, you have to walk through the fire of your own shadow. You have to face every wound that's been driving your patterns in relationship. The abandonment wound that makes you cling. The unworthiness wound that makes you push away. The betrayal wound that makes you build walls. The rejection wound that makes you hide your true self. All of these wounds live in the shadow, and all of these wounds get activated in twin flame connection. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the universe is trying to heal you. Your twin flame is the catalyst, but the healing has to happen within you. Think about the patterns that keep showing up between you and your twin flame. The push and pull. The closeness followed by distance. The moments of profound connection followed by complete shutdown. These aren't random. These are your wounds speaking to each other. Your shadows dancing together in the only way they know how. Jung called this the shadow dance, and it continues until both individuals become conscious of their part in it. Until both individuals stop blaming the other and start taking radical responsibility for their own healing. That's when the dance transforms from chaos into sacred choreography. Right before union, something shifts in your awareness. You stop seeing your twin flame as the problem and start seeing them as the teacher. You stop waiting for them to change and start changing yourself. You stop demanding that they meet your needs and start meeting your own needs so fully that you have nothing but love to offer. This shift doesn't happen because you're trying to manipulate them into coming back. It happens because you finally understand that this journey was never about them. It was always about you becoming who you were meant to be. And here's the beautiful paradox that Jung understood so deeply. The moment you stop needing union to feel whole, The moment you find that wholeness within yourself, that's the moment union becomes possible. Not because you've mastered some spiritual technique or manifested it through positive thinking, but because you've finally become the frequency match for what your soul has been calling in all along. You can't unite with another person from a place of fragmentation. You can only unite from a place of integration. And integration only happens when you stop running from your shadow and start embracing it as part of your wholeness. There's a concept in Jungian psychology that might be the missing piece you've been searching for, and it's called synchronicity. Jung defined synchronicity as meaningful coincidences, events that are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. And if you've been on the twin flame journey, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. The numbers you keep seeing, the songs that play at the exact moment you're thinking of them, the dreams that seem to carry messages from a realm beyond ordinary consciousness, the inexplicable knowing that something is happening with your twin flame even when you're physically separated. These aren't coincidences. They're the language of the unconscious trying to communicate with your conscious mind. Right before union, synchronicities intensify. They become impossible to ignore, impossible to rationalize away. Why? Because the collective unconscious, that vast field of shared human experience that Jung said connects all of us, is preparing both twin flames for what's about to happen. The unconscious knows before the conscious mind knows. The soul knows before the ego knows. And synchronicities are the bridge between those two realms of knowing. They're the universe's way of saying, pay attention, something profound is unfolding. Trust what you can't yet see. But here's what most people miss about synchronicities. They're not just signs that union is coming. They're invitations to go deeper into your own unconscious. Every synchronicity is asking you to pause, to reflect, to inquire into what's happening beneath the surface of your awareness. What was I just thinking when that happened? What am I being called to see? What part of my psyche is trying to get my attention? Synchronicities are doorways into the shadow, into the parts of yourself that are ready to be integrated. And the more you work with them consciously, the more you accelerate your own individuation process. Jung also spoke about the transcendent function, the psychological mechanism that allows us to hold tension between opposites until a third thing emerges, something that transcends and includes both. In twin flame dynamics, you're constantly holding the tension between opposites, love and fear, desire and resistance, connection and separation, unity and individuation. The human mind wants to resolve this tension by choosing one side or the other. Either I'm all in with this person, or I'm walking away completely. Either this is real or it's an illusion. Either they're my twin flame, or they're just another lesson. But the transcendent function asks you to hold both truths simultaneously without collapsing into either extreme. This is the alchemy that happens right before union. You're learning to hold the paradox. I love this person deeply and I don't need them to be happy. I believe in this connection, and I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm willing to wait forever, and I'm not waiting at all because I'm living my life fully right now. This paradoxical thinking drives the ego absolutely insane because the ego wants certainty, control, and clear answers. But the soul thrives in paradox. The soul knows that truth is found not in choosing between opposites, but in embracing them both. Right now, you might be in the space between, not together, not completely apart. Not moving forward, not moving backward. Not in union, not in separation. Just suspended in this excruciating middle place where nothing is clear and everything is uncertain. Jung would tell you that this is exactly where you need to be. This is the temenos, the sacred container where transformation happens. This is the alchemical vessel where the old self dies and the new self is born. And you can't rush it. You can't force it. You can only surrender to it and trust that something profound is being forged in the fire of your own becoming. The ego hates this space. It wants resolution. It wants answers. It wants to know when, how, and under what conditions union will happen. But the soul doesn't work on the ego's timeline. The soul works in its own mysterious rhythm, guided by forces far deeper than conscious understanding. And right before union, you're being asked to trust that rhythm even when it makes no logical sense. You're being asked to let go of control and step into faith, not blind faith that ignores reality, but mature faith that acknowledges the unknown while remaining anchored in your own inner knowing. What if everything that's happening right now, all the uncertainty, all the waiting, all the inner work you're being forced to do, What if it's all exactly what needed to happen for you to become the person who's ready for union? Not the person you were when you met your twin flame, full of projections and unhealed wounds and unconscious patterns, but the person you're becoming now, more whole, more conscious, more deeply aligned with your authentic self. That person is who union is waiting for, and you're closer to becoming that person than you realize. Jung believed that the psyche is always moving toward wholeness, that there's an innate drive within every human being to become integrated, to bring the unconscious into consciousness, to unite the opposites within ourselves. The twin flame journey is that drive on steroids. Its individuation accelerated to an almost unbearable intensity. And right before union, you're in the final stages of that process. You're integrating the last fragments of your shadow. You're withdrawing the last projections. You're embodying the wholeness that was always your birthright, but that you had to journey through hell to claim. Can you feel it now? Can you sense that beneath all the chaos and confusion, something sacred is taking shape? Something that your conscious mind can't yet grasp, but your soul has known all along. There's a specific phase in the alchemical process that perfectly describes what happens right before twin flame union, and it's called the albedo, the whitening. This comes after the nigredo, the blackening, the complete dissolution we talked about earlier. In the albedo stage, what was once broken down and destroyed begins to purify. The chaos starts to settle, the darkness begins to lift, and a new clarity emerges. Not the naive clarity of the beginning, but the hard-won clarity that comes from having walked through fire and survived. This is where you are now, or where you're about to be. You're in the purification process, and it requires something from you that might feel counterintuitive. It requires surrender. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood concepts on the spiritual path. Most people think surrender means giving up, accepting defeat, or resigning yourself to a life without the person you love. But that's not surrender. That's resignation, and it comes from a place of despair. True surrender, the kind Jung wrote about, is something entirely different. It's the conscious choice to release your grip on how you think things should unfold, and trust that there's a larger intelligence at work, an intelligence that knows far more than your limited ego perspective can comprehend. Surrender is not passive. It's the most active thing you can do because it requires you to stay present with uncertainty, to keep your heart open even when you don't know what's coming, to continue doing your inner work even when you can't see the results. Right before union, surrender becomes non-negotiable. You simply cannot force two souls into union through willpower, manifestation techniques, or any form of manipulation, no matter how spiritually disguised. The universe will block it every single time because forced union is not true union. It's just another ego strategy to avoid transformation. True union happens in divine timing, and divine timing operates on a completely different frequency than human impatience. Divine timing is connected to soul readiness, to the completion of certain karmic cycles, to the alignment of both individuals with their highest selves, and none of that can be rushed. But here's what makes surrender so challenging in twin flame dynamics. You're being asked to let go while still holding love. You're being asked to release attachment while not abandoning the connection. You're being asked to stop chasing while not giving up. This is the ultimate paradox, and it's one that can only be lived, not understood intellectually. You have to feel your way through it, moment by moment, breath by breath, allowing yourself to want what you want while simultaneously being okay if it never comes in the form you're expecting. Jung spoke about the importance of holding tension, of not prematurely resolving the conflict between opposites. He knew that when we can sit with discomfort long enough, when we can resist the urge to escape into distraction or denial or false certainty, something new emerges from that tension, something the ego could never have created because it transcends the ego's limited perspective. This is what's trying to emerge in your twin flame connection right now. Not the relationship your ego wants, but the union your soul is calling in. And those two things might look very different. Your ego wants guarantees. It wants to know that if you do all the inner work, if you heal all your wounds, if you become the best version of yourself, then union is guaranteed. But the soul doesn't make guarantees. The soul makes invitations. It invites you to grow, to evolve, to become more of who you truly are, not because there's a reward waiting at the end, but because that's the purpose of your existence. The twin flame connection is the catalyst, not the destination. The destination is you, fully realized, fully embodied, fully alive in your own being. And if union happens from that place, it will be more beautiful than anything your ego could have imagined. And if it doesn't happen in this lifetime, you'll still have gained everything that truly matters. I know that might be hard to hear. The ego is screaming right now, saying, "No, I want union, I need union, I can't be happy without union." And that's okay. Let the ego scream. Don't fight it, don't judge it, just witness it. Because underneath that screaming, there's a deeper part of you that knows the truth. The part of you that chose this journey not because it would be easy, but because it would transform you in ways nothing else could. That part of you is still here, still watching, still trusting even when the ego is in full panic mode. What does your soul know right now that your ego is refusing to accept? What truth is sitting just beneath the surface of all your fear and doubt and desperate wanting? These are the questions that matter. These are the questions that will guide you through the final stages before union. Because right before union, you're being asked to become intimate with your own soul, to listen to its whispers instead of the ego's screams, to trust its guidance even when it leads you into more uncertainty. Your soul knows the way. It's always known the way. The only question is whether you're willing to follow it, even when the path disappears and you're walking blind in the dark, trusting that every step is bringing you closer to where you've always been meant to arrive. Let's go deeper into something that might explain why the intensity ramps up so dramatically right before union. Jung talked about the concept of enantiodromia, which is the principle that everything eventually turns into its opposite when taken to an extreme. This principle is everywhere in nature. Day turns into night. Winter turns into spring. Expansion leads to contraction. And in the twin flame journey, the most intense separation often precedes the deepest union. The greatest darkness comes right before dawn. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is how the psyche actually works. When you're in the deepest part of separation, when it feels like union is impossible, when every sign seems to point toward this connection being over, that's often when you're closest to breakthrough. Why? Because that's when the ego finally exhausts itself. That's when all your strategies for controlling the outcome collapse. That's when you have no choice but to surrender because fighting isn't working anymore. And in that moment of complete surrender, when you finally stop swimming against the current and let the river carry you, that's when everything shifts. Not because you've given up, but because you've finally aligned with the natural flow of your own transformation. Right before union, many twin flames experience what feels like a death. The death of hope, the death of the dream, the death of who they thought they were in relationship to this person. And this death is absolutely necessary because you cannot birth the new while still clinging to the old. You cannot step into union while still holding on to the identity of the one who's seeking union. That identity has to die. The seeker has to disappear so the one who's already whole can emerge. And that transition, that death and rebirth, is what's happening in this excruciating space right before union. Jung understood that psychological death and rebirth is the core of individuation. He saw it in his own life, in his own dark night of the soul, in his own journey through the depths of the unconscious. He knew that you have to descend into the underworld of your own psyche before you can rise into the light of consciousness. You have to meet your demons, face your fears, confront every part of yourself you've been running from, and the twin flame connection drags you into that underworld, whether you want to go or not. It doesn't give you the option to stay on the surface anymore. It demands depth, authenticity, radical honesty with yourself. What's dying in you right now? What version of yourself is no longer sustainable? What stories about love, about worthiness, about what you deserve? What stories are crumbling under the weight of this connection? These deaths are painful, but they're also liberation. Every false belief that dies makes space for truth. Every old pattern that collapses makes space for new possibility. Every identity that dissolves makes space for your authentic self to emerge. And your authentic self is what union is waiting for. Not the masked version, not the people-pleasing version, not the version that's been trying to earn love through being perfect. The raw, real, imperfect, beautifully human version of you that's been buried under layers of conditioning and trauma and societal expectations. Right before union, you start to see yourself clearly for the first time. Not through the eyes of your parents, your past partners, your culture, or even your twin flame, but through your own eyes, through the eyes of your soul. And that clear seeing changes everything. Because when you see yourself with that level of honesty, when you stop hiding from your flaws and start embracing them as part of your wholeness, you become magnetic in a way you never were before. Not because you're trying to attract anyone, but because you're finally at home in yourself. And there's nothing more attractive than someone who's fully inhabiting their own being. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who you were told to be, not who you think you should be, but who you actually are beneath all the layers of conditioning. The twin flame journey is the universe's way of forcing you into that becoming. It strips away everything that's false until only truth remains. And that process is brutal because we've built entire lives around our false selves. We've created identities, relationships, careers, all based on who we thought we needed to be, to survive, to be loved, to belong. And when the twin flame mirror shows us that none of that is real, that none of that is who we truly are, it feels like our entire world is collapsing. But it's not your world that's collapsing. It's the prison you've been living in. The walls are coming down, the chains are breaking, and yes, it feels terrifying because you've been in that prison so long you forgot what freedom feels like. You forgot what it means to live from your authentic self rather than your adapted self. But your soul remembers, and your soul is guiding you back home to yourself, using this twin flame connection as the vehicle for that return. The question is, are you willing to let yourself die? Not physically, but psychologically. Are you willing to let go of every idea you've had about who you are, what you need, how love should look? Are you willing to step into the void, that terrifying empty space where nothing is certain and everything is possible? Because that void is where union lives. Not in the certainty of guaranteed outcomes, but in the surrender to what wants to emerge through you, as you, in partnership with another soul who's willing to make the same journey into their own depths. What if the death you're experiencing right now is actually your soul's way of making space for more life than you've ever allowed yourself to have? Carl Jung had a profound understanding of what he called the self with a capital S, distinct from the small self, or ego. The self in Jungian terms is the totality of who you are, the conscious and unconscious combined, the center and circumference of your being. It's the divine spark within you, the part of you that's connected to something far greater than your individual existence. And the ultimate goal of individuation is to align your ego with yourself, to live from that deeper center, rather than from the fragmented, fear-based patterns of the conditioned mind. Twin flame union cannot happen until both individuals have made significant progress on this alignment, because union is not ego merging with ego. It's self-recognizing self. When you first meet your twin flame, there's often an instant recognition, a feeling of coming home, of having known this person forever. That recognition isn't happening at the ego level. Your ego doesn't know them at all. That recognition is happening at the level of the self. Your soul recognizes their soul. Your essence recognizes their essence. And in that moment of recognition, something awakens in you that can never go back to sleep. You've touched something real, something that transcends the ordinary world of separation and isolation. You've experienced union at the deepest level, even if just for a moment. And now your ego has to catch up to what your soul already knows. Right before union, the gap between ego and self is closing. You've done enough inner work that you're no longer completely identified with your ego's fears and desires. You've touched your own essence enough times that you know there's something more real than your thoughts, your emotions, your stories about yourself. You're starting to live from that deeper place, and when you live from that deeper place, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop manipulating. You stop trying to force outcomes. You simply show up as who you are and trust that whatever's meant to unfold will unfold in its own perfect timing. But this alignment with self requires something that's incredibly difficult for the ego to accept. It requires you to give up control. The ego's entire function is to control, to manage, to protect you from perceived threats. And the twin flame connection is the biggest threat the ego has ever encountered, because it threatens to dissolve the very structure the ego has spent your entire life building. The ego knows that if you fully surrender to this connection, if you fully surrender to your own soul's calling, the ego will no longer be in charge, and that terrifies it. So the ego fights back with everything it has: doubt, fear, stories about why this can't work, reasons to run, distractions, anything to keep you from taking that final step into surrender. Jung spoke about the ego's resistance to the self as a necessary part of the process. The ego has to resist, because that resistance is what creates the tension that eventually leads to transformation. If there was no resistance, there would be no growth. You'd just dissolve into the unconscious and lose all sense of individual identity. But the resistance can't win, because the self is more powerful than the ego. The self is what you truly are. The ego is just a structure you've created to navigate the world, and eventually, the ego has to bow to the self, not through defeat, but through integration. The ego doesn't disappear. It just takes its rightful place as servant to something greater. Right now, you might be feeling that final battle between ego and self, playing out in your twin flame dynamic. Part of you knows this connection is real, knows this person is significant, knows your soul is calling you towards something profound. But another part of you is terrified, doubting everything, wanting to run, wanting to give up, wanting to choose safety over transformation. Both parts are valid. Both parts deserve compassion, but only one part knows the truth, and that's the part you need to listen to. What would it mean for you to fully trust your soul's knowing, even when your ego is screaming in protest? What would it mean to choose faith over fear? Not blind faith that ignores reality, but deep faith that acknowledges the difficulty while remaining anchored in something more real than circumstances? These questions are at the heart of what's happening right before union. You're being asked to choose, not between staying or leaving, not between your twin flame or someone else, but between ego and self, between living from fear or living from truth, between continuing to let old wounds drive your choices or allowing your soul to guide you into wholeness. And that choice, when you finally make it fully and completely, changes everything. It doesn't guarantee that union happens in the way your ego wants it to happen, but it guarantees that you become free. And freedom is what you've been seeking all along, even though you thought you were seeking another person. There's one more essential piece of the puzzle that Jung explored deeply, and it might be the most important insight for understanding what happens right before twin flame union. Jung called it the conjunctio oppositorum, the union of opposites. He believed that the fundamental task of human development is to unite the opposites within ourselves, masculine and feminine, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, spirit and matter. And the twin flame relationship is the external manifestation of this internal process. Your twin flame represents the opposite energy that you need to integrate within yourself to become whole. But here's what makes this so challenging. You can't integrate what you're still projecting. As long as you see your twin flame as the holder of the qualities you lack, as long as you believe they have something you need to be complete, you're still in projection. And projection keeps you separate. It keeps you in the dynamic of lack, of seeking outside yourself for what can only be found within. Right before union, the projection has to fully withdraw. You have to own that the masculine or feminine energy you've been seeing in your twin flame actually lives within you. You have to cultivate it, embody it, integrate it as part of your own wholeness. For those who identify as feminine energy, this means developing your inner masculine, your ability to take action, to set boundaries, to protect yourself, to provide for yourself, to stand in your own power without needing anyone's permission or approval. For those who identify as masculine energy, this means developing your inner feminine, your ability to feel, to be vulnerable, to receive, to surrender, to trust the intuitive guidance of your heart without always needing logic and control. Twin flame union cannot happen until both individuals have done this inner work, until both have developed the opposite energy within themselves. Because union is not two halves making a whole. It's two wholes creating something that transcends both. Think about the areas where you've been dependent on your twin flame. What have you been expecting them to provide that you haven't been giving yourself? Love, validation, security, certainty. Whatever it is, that's your work. That's what you're being called to develop within yourself before union can happen. And this isn't about becoming so independent that you don't need anyone. It's about becoming so whole that you can be in relationship from choice rather than need, from abundance rather than lack, from love rather than fear. Jung understood that the conjunctio isn't just a psychological concept, it's a spiritual reality. When the opposites unite within you, when masculine and feminine energies come into balance, when conscious and unconscious work together in harmony, you experience what Jung called the birth of the self. You become whole. You step into your full humanity. And from that place of wholeness, relationship transforms from something you need to survive into something you choose to enhance an already complete life. Right before union, you're in the final stages of this inner marriage. You're learning to hold both energies simultaneously. You're learning to be strong and soft, protective and vulnerable, independent and connected, rational and intuitive. And as you develop this inner balance, something miraculous happens. You stop needing your twin flame to be anything other than who they are. You stop trying to change them, fix them, or get them to meet needs you can meet for yourself. You simply love them, fully and freely, with no agenda, no conditions, no expectations. And that love, that unconditional love that asks for nothing in return, that's what creates the space for union to finally happen. But even in saying that, I need to be honest with you. Union might not happen in this lifetime. And that's not because you failed or because you haven't done enough work. It's because there are factors beyond your control. Factors related to your twin flame's own soul journey, their own readiness, their own free will. You cannot force another person into consciousness. You cannot drag them kicking and screaming into wholeness. They have to choose it for themselves, just as you've had to choose it for yourself. And if they're not ready, if they're still running, if they're still caught in their own shadow patterns, union will not happen until they are. And here's the profound truth that Jung would want you to understand. Your wholeness doesn't depend on them. Your healing doesn't depend on them. Your happiness doesn't depend on them. The inner marriage, the union of opposites within yourself, that's yours. That's something you can achieve regardless of whether your twin flame ever shows up ready for external union. And when you achieve that inner union, when you become whole within yourself, you might discover that you don't need external union anymore. You might discover that you're already experiencing everything you thought union would give you: peace, love, completeness, wholeness. And from that place, if union happens, it's the cherry on top of an already beautiful life. And if it doesn't happen, you're still whole, still complete, still living a life of profound meaning and purpose. What if the entire twin flame journey has been about bringing you to this moment, this choice, to be whole regardless of whether they ever choose to meet you in that wholeness? So here we are, at the end of this journey through Jung's wisdom about what happens right before twin flame union. And if you've stayed with me this far, if you've allowed these words to touch something deep within you, then you already know what I'm about to say. The real union isn't something that happens out there, between you and another person. The real union is happening inside you, right now, in this very moment. It's the union of all the fragmented parts of yourself coming back together. It's the union of your conscious and unconscious. It's the union of your wounds and your wholeness. It's the union of who you've been and who you're becoming. What happens right before twin flame union is that you finally stop waiting for it. Not because you've given up, not because you've lost hope, but because you found what you were looking for inside yourself. You've discovered that the love you wanted from them has been inside you all along. You've realized that the completion you were seeking through them is actually your own birthright, available to you in every moment you choose to come home to yourself. And in that discovery, in that coming home, you become free. Free from the desperate needing, free from the anxious waiting, free from the attachment to outcome. And that freedom, that's what makes union possible. But whether union happens or not, you've already won, because you've reclaimed yourself. You've done the inner work that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You've faced your shadow. You've integrated your wounds. You've withdrawn your projections. You've aligned your ego with yourself. You've become whole. And that wholeness is the greatest gift this twin flame journey could ever give you. Not the relationship, not the happily ever after, but you, fully realized, fully embodied, fully alive. Jung spent his entire life exploring the depths of the human psyche, and what he discovered was that we're all on a journey toward wholeness. The twin flame connection is just one path, one particularly intense and transformative path, but it's not the only path. And the destination isn't another person. The destination is you, awakened to your own divinity, conscious of your own completeness, living from the truth of who you really are beneath all the conditioning and trauma and fear. So wherever you are in your journey right now, whether you're in separation or moving toward reunion, whether you're in pain or finding peace, whether you're still holding hope or learning to let go, know this: you're exactly where you need to be. Every moment of this journey has been preparing you for the next moment. Every challenge has been an invitation to grow. Every heartbreak has been breaking you open to more love. And everything that's happening, including the reading of these words right now, is part of your soul's perfect unfolding. Trust the process. Trust your soul. Trust that even when you can't see the path, even when you feel lost in the darkness, something profound is happening beneath the surface. You're being transformed. You're being prepared. You're becoming who you always were but forgot you could be. And that becoming is the most sacred thing in the universe. Before we close, I want to invite you to do something. I want to invite you to share your experience in the comments below. Where are you in your twin flame journey? What resonates most from what we've explored today? What's your soul trying to tell you right now that maybe your ego has been afraid to hear? Your voice matters. Your story matters. And this community thrives when we're willing to be vulnerable and real with each other. So take a moment, share whatever feels true for you, and know that you're not alone in this. And if this video has touched something in you, if it's helped you see your journey with new eyes, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to this channel and share this with someone who might need to hear these words. Not everyone is ready for this level of depth, but for those who are, these insights can change everything. Hit that like button if you found value here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos where we'll continue exploring the profound wisdom of Carl Jung and how it applies to your journey of becoming whole. Thank you truly for being here. Thank you for doing the hard work of looking within. Thank you for staying with your process even when it's been painful. Thank you for having the courage to love deeply, to be transformed, to let yourself be broken open to more than you ever thought possible. You're doing something incredibly brave, and I see you. I honor you, and I'm walking this path right alongside you, learning and growing and becoming just like you are. Until next time, remember this: you are not half of anything. You are whole. You always have been. And the journey isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about remembering that you were never incomplete to begin with. That remembering is the real union, and it's already happening, right here, right now, in the sacred space of your own beautiful, complex, perfectly imperfect being.